Welcome to our viewers. Thank you for joining us. Today we have with us Mr. Todd Black, our environmental planner and wildlife biologist, which is a unique position for a city. So we are excited to have Todd with us. So
I'm excited to be here, and you're right. I have not, in my research and people I know, I have never heard of a city, municipality hiring a wildlife biologist. So kudos to you guys.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we're excited and honored to have you here in doing some important work, because really the goals of a city, the purpose of a city really is to elevate the quality of life for everyone that lives here and works here. And so open space for outdoor recreation and wildlife is a big part of that quality of life, and also reaching constantly finding a better balance with nature.
Sure.
So that we can make everything work together and create a very positive, healthy, productive environment all the way around.
And very admirable to the city, and I think that's why a lot of people probably moved out here, relocated out here initially, was to get away from the big city and have a little more native kind of experience to get away from it all. So I think there's a lot of opportunities to do good things for wildlife out here and try to maintain that balance.
So Eagle Mountain is one of the fastest growing cities around, and a very large city, both geographically and now by population.
Sure.
So a lot going on, and it's important that we get it right, or as close to right, the first time, so that we're not having to backtrack and we see other cities that have become urbanized and then they're kind of stuck. It's a harder project to roll that back, and so we have the opportunity to plan it ahead of time so that we get a really good result in the end and are able to preserve the wildlife, that open space, and have that outdoor recreation and keep it all right here, and create our own environment.
Yep.
Really.
No, really important, I think, to be proactive than reactive, which you see a lot of cities are. Particularly, I think the big thing that kind of spurred this all was the mule deer migration, the wildlife corridor. I think that was a big aspect that drew to actual code being drafted, and here with Eagle Mountain. And yeah, you see a lot of cities now that are dealing with problem wildlife, and most of the time that ends up in somebody being more than displaced. It ends up with them being shot or culled or out of the area. So you see a lot of cities along the Wasatch Front that are dealing with that just with mule deer. So very proactive in what we're trying to do, what you're all trying to do here from a big picture standpoint with this migration corridor, this mule deer corridor. So
yeah, Todd, can you bring us up to speed, maybe some of the recent things that have happened and some of the things that are being worked on?
Sure. Yeah, just like recently, right now, one of the big things that we're working on is the city is working with the DOT, Department of Transportation, and the Department of Wildlife, for both working within city limits to narrow down this crossing that takes place 2 times a year on SR 73, and there's always a few deer that end up getting whacked. But one of the neat, cool things we're doing now is trying to work on some state-of-the-art technology. First thing in Utah is to use some LiDAR imagery, some radar imagery, and to help people know that the deer are crossing the road right now, you should slow down. So those are kind of things we're working on right now. I'm also working with a lot of these landowners that have private land, especially those that are still within agricultural, zoned agriculture within the city limits, to maybe do some conservation easements that somehow we can, preserve the functionality and integrity of this migration route that's lasted for years, to help these deer move through the city with as little human wildlife impact that we can.
Great. And so those deer, and as long as we're on the subject of the deer, they of course utilize the ridgelines, but they also utilize our washes. And so there's another area where the washes are active areas, right?
They
So
are,
we want to manage that, and so the city, as a city, we've taken on a little more than cities typically do, because we want to preserve that wash environment, both for the public and for the wildlife. So
Sure.
tell us
Again,
what's
another
happening
thing, Tickville's a big drainage that starts at Camp Williams and goes all the way to Utah Lake, and a big portion of that is where it crosses through Eagle Mountain. And again, kudos for the city to take ownership of that, both outright and from a management standpoint, that we want to do something with that. Other cities around have just taken the approach that we'll just throw some culverts in there and cover it up and, be gone. But yeah, from an intrinsic standpoint, from a wildlife standpoint, from a recreation standpoint, it has value. What can we do to manage that, right? And then as we take into consideration our management applications, what can we do to make sure that wash continues to function ecologically as it should, to move water in the best way possible without head cutting, into people's backyards. And so the city's taken ownership of a lot of parcels within that I think allows us to do a lot of good things. So another big thing that I'm working on, what can we do? And we're going to look at partnering with state and federal agencies and maybe getting some grant monies to do some good things.
Yeah, there's a lot of heavy lifting, and we're really pleased to have you here in that mix and helping to guide it and move it forward as we work with landowners and residents and do our best to meet the needs of wildlife. So yeah, in fact, recently we had the Department of Wildlife, most of the people in the state, I believe, were here in Eagle Mountain to observe some of the things that are going on. So it's exciting when Eagle Mountain can take the lead.
For sure. No, I think the state recognizes that, hey, look, here's a city that's willing to be proactive, like we talked about, and what can we do to preserve these ridgelines, this corridor, this it's a big deal, and I always said it'll be interesting to see what it looks like in 20 years. Will these deer kind of do what a lot of other deer and just adapt to this environment, or will they say kind of using this migration corridor and doing what they've done for hundreds, if not thousands of years?
Mm-hmm. And I imagine as we move forward, there will be plenty of opportunities for residents to get involved.
There will be, I'm counting on it. Yeah, we're going to have some opportunities to volunteer and roll up your sleeve and get to work. So
we will look forward to announcements and programs and progress where our residents can get involved and play an important role there. So Todd, we really appreciate you being here, and we look forward to great things and really setting the example in the state as far as it comes to wildlife, open space, and managing it all. So
I'm excited. I really am. This is a very unique position, and hopefully I can keep you out of trouble. And I think there's a lot of low-hanging fruit that we can do some good things.
Yep, we'll look forward to it. Well, thank you to our viewers, and we'll see you again next time.